The silence among the stars had never felt this complete. 300 years had slipped by since the Great War's final shots, and the galaxy had wrapped itself in comfortable peace. The Galactic Concordat governed hundreds of worlds, maintaining harmony through the pacification accords, ancient agreements ensuring nobody could construct weapons capable of destroying entire planets. Most agreed this arrangement worked well. Most, except humanity, though they wisely kept such thoughts private. Captain Marcus Stone watched from Mining Station Alpha 7's observation deck as sunset painted the barren world in brilliant oranges and reds. To any outsider, this appeared to be just another lifeless rock being harvested for resources. Giant digging machines crawled across the landscape, collecting valuable metals from the rocky soil. Dust trails followed each machine like golden spirits in the thin air. But Marcus understood what lay beneath. Deep within the planet's heart, hidden from prying eyes, the true operation unfolded. This wasn't simply about mining. This was the boldest construction effort the galaxy had ever seen. "Sir, the Vorak inspection crew just departed orbit." Lieutenant Sarah Chen's voice crackled through his device. "They found nothing suspicious." Marcus grinned. Naturally. The ethereal Vorak, with their flowing energy forms and condescending manner, observed only what they anticipated. To them, humans represented just another backward species, hardly deserving their place in the Concordat. They distributed mining permits to distant worlds like scraps to beggars, never imagining those same worlds could conceal something remarkable. The inspection had proceeded flawlessly. The Vorak officials had walked through surface operations, studied the mining gear, and checked production records. They'd watched human workers in plain clothing running basic equipment. They'd observed ore being packed onto ships heading toward the core systems. Everything seemed ordinary, dull, and utterly safe. They had zero clue that the tunnels stretched much deeper than any legitimate operation needed. They couldn't sense the enormous construction chambers carved from solid stone, shielded by layers of sensor-blocking materials humans had perfected over decades. Power signatures were cleverly hidden, appearing identical to standard mining operations. Even gravity measurements seemed normal, thanks to carefully positioned counterweights throughout the planet's structure. Marcus moved through the station's hallways, past workers who nodded with respect. These people knew they were contributing to something significant, even without grasping the full picture. They'd signed contracts guaranteeing their families comfortable lives forever in return for their secrecy and labor. Many had grown up on worlds exactly like this, children of the original generation of secret workers who'd launched this effort when the pacification accords were brand new. He entered a lift supposedly leading to deeper mining sections. Instead, it dropped much farther, passing through numerous security barriers and sealed rooms that would defeat even military-grade sensors. When the doors finally slid open, they revealed something that would have astonished any alien observer. The construction chamber extended for kilometers in all directions. Massive reactors supplied power to industrial machines that never stopped. Robotic systems transported raw materials along precisely designed routes, assembling pieces that would ultimately form something both magnificent and frightening. The air vibrated with energy and determination. Dr. Elena Vasquez, the project's lead engineer, walked over carrying a data pad. Her expression showed the pride of someone watching an impossible vision become real. "The main hull sections are 60% finished," she explained. "The fusion heart is performing perfectly, and the weapon arrays are running ahead of schedule. At this pace, we'll complete construction 2 months early." Marcus nodded, gazing up at the colossal structure growing in the chamber's center. Comprehending the scale of their creation proved difficult. Once finished, it would dwarf most moons, with firepower capable of shattering asteroids and armor thick enough to survive direct strikes from capital ships. Yet the most remarkable aspect was that nobody in the galaxy suspected it existed. "What about the other locations?" Marcus inquired. "Kepler Station shows matching progress. The Titan effort is actually surpassing us. They've already started installing their primary weapon systems. Commander Rodriguez believes they'll be testing ready within 6 months." Marcus felt a wave of satisfaction. Throughout dozens of star systems, humanity was quietly constructing a fleet unlike anything the galaxy had witnessed. Each effort was disguised as a basic mining or farming settlement. Each appeared harmless to alien inspectors making regular visits. Together, they represented the largest military expansion in galactic memory. The strategy had begun 3 centuries earlier, shortly after the pacification accords were established. Humanity had been inexperienced in galactic politics then, grateful for any inclusion. But some visionary leaders had recognized that peace agreements were only as reliable as those enforcing them. They'd also recognized that being dismissed as primitive offered advantages. While other species concentrated on culture, philosophy, and artistic exchange, humans quietly studied alien innovations. They absorbed knowledge about advanced manufacturing methods, exotic materials, and energy technologies far beyond Earth's original capabilities. More crucially, they learned about gaps in alien perception. The elder races had grown satisfied with their dominance. The crystalline Separans believed their mathematical brilliance made them perfect tacticians. The hive-minded Kellery assumed their collective awareness provided unmatched coordination. The energy-based Vorthak considered themselves beyond physical constraints. Each species felt so confident in their strengths that they overlooked human flexibility. Humans had always excelled at learning from others while protecting their secrets. They'd refined this ability during their early space expansion, when Earth's nations competed for settlements and resources. Now they employed the same approach on a galactic level. The brilliance of the strategy lay in its simplicity. Rather than attempting to construct a traditional fleet that could be spotted and counted, humanity decided to build weapons disguised as something entirely different. Lifeless worlds and large asteroids provided ideal cover for massive construction efforts. The galaxy contained countless such objects, and nobody noticed minor mining activities in remote locations. Marcus walked along a viewing platform overlooking the main construction zone. Below, automated systems operated with tireless accuracy. Components that would become railguns the size of towers were being assembled by machines that never erred. Shield projectors capable of defending small cities were taking form in specialized manufacturing rooms. Propulsion systems that could move a moon-sized object at substantial fractions of light speed were being examined and fine-tuned. The psychological assessments were accurate, Dr. Vasquez remarked, joining him at the rail. The aliens observe what they anticipate observing. We display mining gear, they assume we're miners. We display farming communities, they assume we're farmers. They never investigate further because they never thought we could be anything greater. This had perhaps been the most valuable realization during early planning stages. Alien psychology, despite surface variations between species, followed predictable patterns when dealing with supposedly inferior races. They remained courteous, patronizing, and completely disinterested in human potential. This oversight had permitted humanity to operate openly for 3 centuries. The mining disguise had proven particularly successful. Every alien species required raw materials. Extracting them from dead worlds was considered tedious. Essential work, ideal for a species like humanity that was believed competent at following basic directions but lacking in imagination or drive. The aliens happily let humans handle the dirty work while they focused on grander matters. Yet humans had always grasped that today's boring tasks could become tomorrow's strategic edge. The same mining methods used to extract minerals could also hollow out entire planets. The same industrial gear used to process ore could manufacture weapons. The same transport networks used to move materials could carry military equipment. As years accumulated, the secret network expanded. Carefully chosen humans were brought into the effort, typically from families already involved in the outer colonies. Children matured learning that their genuine purpose was far more important than what they showed alien visitors. They learned to perform their roles flawlessly, appearing simple and unthreatening while working on endeavors that would transform galactic power. The communication networks alone represented a wonder of engineering and concealment. Messages traveled through seemingly ordinary commercial channels, buried in shipping records and mining updates. Alien inspectors routinely checked these communications and discovered nothing but standard business correspondence. They never guessed that production reports for iron, or also held coded intelligence about weapon construction, or that equipment requisitions were actually requests for military components. Marcus glanced at his timepiece. Within hours, another inspection team would arrive, this time from the Kari Collective. They would observe the same carefully staged surface operations, encounter the same friendly human staff, and review the same harmless production data. They would depart convinced that humanity remained a minor species focused on basic tasks, never realizing they'd just visited one of the most advanced military bases in the galaxy. The elegance of the deception required no falsehoods, only selective truth. The mining activities were genuine and profitable. The ore truly was shipped to inter-system buyers. The workers genuinely lived simple lives focused on their assignments. Everything the aliens observed was completely authentic. They simply weren't shown the lower levels, where the actual work happened. Dr. Vasquez activated a holographic map displaying the construction timeline for all active locations. Dozens of sites appeared as glowing points scattered across the galaxy's outer areas. Each represented years of patient effort, thousands of committed people, and technology pushing the limits of possibility. The Separans have increased their patrol frequency in Sector 7, she mentioned. Nothing concerning, just routine modifications. Their mathematical calculations suggest peak efficiency needs regular pattern adjustments. Marcus nodded. The Separans were the most militarily sophisticated species in the Concordat, yet even they suffered from their own assumptions. Their crystalline minds operated in perfect mathematical unity, but this exact precision made them predictable. They followed logical patterns that human planners had learned to predict and navigate around. The patrol schedule modifications actually helped. They provided cover for material transfers between construction locations, allowing humanity to share resources and synchronize development across numerous sites. What the Separans viewed as efficient patrol management, humans utilized as a shipping network for military equipment. As Marcus prepared to return to the surface levels, he considered how far they'd progressed. 3 centuries back, humanity had been thankful for the opportunity to join galactic civilization. They'd accepted junior status and remote settlement assignments without objection. But they'd also quietly begun preparing for a future where thankfulness alone wouldn't guarantee survival. The galaxy trusted in the pacification accords because 300 years of peace had made them satisfied. They assumed everyone shared their happiness with the existing arrangement. They never imagined that a species might agree to follow agreements while secretly preparing to surpass them. Soon, very soon, the galaxy would learn exactly how much they'd undervalued humanity. Yet for now, Marcus was satisfied to let them rest peacefully, never guessing that their awakening was already being built. Admiral Sarah Chen had never thought she would lead something like this. Standing in the command room of what seemed to be a barren mining world called Kepler 4422c, she gazed through strengthened windows at the most powerful warship ever made. The irony wasn't lost on her that nobody in the galaxy knew this place existed. From orbit, Kepler 4422c looked precisely like it should be, a dead world with modest mining activities scattered across its landscape. The same operations that had fooled alien observers for decades continued functioning normally, pulling real minerals and shipping them to actual customers throughout the core systems. Yet those surface installations were just the outer shell around something magnificent and terrifying. The planet itself was the warship. "Status update," Sarah commanded, her voice resonating through the enormous control center built deep within the planetary heart. "All primary systems running at peak efficiency," Commander Torres reported from the engineering station. "Reactors are steady, gravitational controls are calibrated, and weapon arrays are prepared for final testing. The camouflage systems continue performing perfectly. To outside sensors, we still look like a standard dead world with minimal industrial activity." Sarah nodded, walking along the central platform overlooking the main operations room. Below, hundreds of specialists worked at stations controlling systems distributed throughout the entire planet. What they'd achieved here defied every assumption about available technology. The effort had consumed 80 years. 3 generations of human workers had spent their complete lives on Kepler 442c, maintaining the surface illusion while building something unprecedented in the planet's depths. The engineering obstacles had seemed impossible initially. How do you transform a planet into a spacecraft? How do you conceal reactors the size of cities? How do you construct weapons capable of destroying other planets while ensuring your own planet doesn't tear apart? The solutions had demanded completely fresh approaches to everything from structural engineering to power management. Humanity's brightest minds had worked in secrecy, creating answers that alien science had never deemed necessary. The outcome was something that exceeded traditional boundaries between vessel and world. "Display the primary weapon arrays," Sarah ordered. The main screen activated, presenting a cross-section image of the planet. What looked like a solid rocky world was actually riddled with chambers, channels, and installations. Enormous railguns ran through the planetary shell like arteries, their barrels stretching from surface to center. Shield projectors were spread throughout the structure, each capable of defending a city-sized region. The reactors powering everything were integrated into the planet's natural formation, utilizing geothermal systems as supplementary cooling. Yet the most impressive feature was the gravitational control system. Using technology adapted from alien gravity generators but enhanced far beyond original designs, the planet could propel itself through space, not rapidly by ship standards, but with sufficient speed and accuracy to function as a mobile battle station. More significantly, the same gravitational fields providing propulsion could be weaponized, generating zones where enemy vessels would be crushed by their own mass. "The Vorak inspection yesterday proceeded smoothly," Lieutenant Williams reported from the intelligence station. "They reviewed our quarterly production data and found everything acceptable. Mineral yield is up 3% from last period, which they credited to enhanced efficiency in our mining activities." Sarah smiled at that. The enhanced efficiency was real, but unrelated to mining. The automated systems maintaining the surface deception were improving at their jobs, requiring less power and producing more convincing outcomes. The extra 3% came from improvements in the camouflage systems, not from pulling more minerals from already exhausted deposits. The intelligence station tracked alien movements throughout the sector, following patrol paths, inspection timetables, and communication patterns. Over decades, human analysts had charted alien behavior with scientific precision, learning to anticipate their actions and modify operations accordingly. This knowledge had been distributed across all construction locations, allowing the entire network to operate as a coordinated whole. "Any unusual activity in other sectors?" Sarah asked. Titan Base confirms successful completion of their primary weapon systems. They're prepared to start stealth trials within the month. The Prometheus effort has encountered some complications with their shield integration, but nothing affecting the overall schedule. All other locations remain on track and undetected. The magnitude of humanity's achievement still amazed Sarah. 17 planets scattered across 12 sectors, each converted into a warship of unprecedented strength. The logistics alone represented an accomplishment that should have been impossible. Transporting materials and personnel between locations without detection, synchronizing construction schedules across multiple star systems, maintaining consistent cover stories through decades of alien inspections. Yet perhaps the greatest achievement was keeping everything secret. Thousands had worked on these efforts over the centuries, and not one had revealed the truth to alien authorities. This wasn't solely because of security protocols, though those were thorough. It was because every person involved understood what they were creating and why it mattered. Humanity had absorbed difficult lessons during their early expansion into space. They'd learned that the galaxy wasn't a welcoming place for species appearing weak or fractured. The pacification accords had established peace, but it was peace enforced by species considering themselves superior to everyone else. Humans were tolerated, not valued. They were given tasks, not choices. The elder races meant well in their condescending fashion. They genuinely believed that preventing large-scale conflict benefited everyone, yet they also assumed they would always be the ones making decisions about maintaining that peace. They never imagined other species might have different perspectives about galactic leadership. Sarah moved to the tactical display where holographic images of nearby star systems rotated slowly in the air. Each system was labeled with symbols showing alien patrol schedules, military bases, and civilian populations. The information had been collected over decades by human traders, miners, and settlers who seemed to be conducting normal business while actually performing the most thorough intelligence operation in galactic memory. "Display the latest communication intercepts," she ordered. The screen changed to reveal decoded alien messages from the past week. Most were routine administrative exchanges between Concordat officials discussing trade deals and cultural programs. Yet several items attracted Sarah's attention. The Superior Third Fleet has modified its patrol path again, Williams reported. They're spending more time in sectors near human settlements. The pattern indicates increased alertness, but their reports show no particular worries. This was anticipated. The Superians were the most militarily advanced species in the Concordat, and their crystalline minds were naturally suspicious of irregularities. Through the years, they'd occasionally detected subtle oddities in human-controlled space. Unusual energy signatures, gravitational variations, or communication patterns that didn't quite match normal commercial activity. Yet each time they investigated, they discovered exactly what they expected. Human settlements focused on mining and farming, with populations that seemed genuinely surprised and honored by alien interest. The investigations always concluded that any oddities resulted from normal industrial activity or natural occurrences. The Superians never realized their own mathematical precision worked against them. Human strategists had learned to predict their investigation methods and prepare accordingly. When Superior analysis suggested energy readings were 17% higher than expected, humans ensured their cover operations actually generated energy readings exactly 17% higher than expected. When gravitational sensors detected unusual variations, those variations were carefully engineered to match patterns produced by large-scale mining equipment operating under specific conditions. Any word from the deep reconnaissance teams? Sarah asked. Agent Patterson reports from Superior Space that their new battlecruiser designs show no major improvements over earlier models. Agent Morrison confirms Carry Hive ships remain focused on defensive arrangements. Agent Zhang has watched Vorak Energy Fleet exercises and notes no tactical innovations threatening our capabilities. This intelligence network was another aspect of the effort that alien authorities completely undervalued. They observed human traders and workers throughout Concordat space and assumed these people were simply pursuing economic opportunities. They never suspected many of these individuals were actually trained intelligence agents, carefully watching alien military capabilities and reporting back through hidden communication systems. The information gathered by these agents had been essential to the weapon design process. Human engineers knew precisely what kinds of threats their ships would face, what defensive systems alien vessels used, and what tactical principles guided alien military thinking. This knowledge had been built into every aspect of the planet's ships, from weapon selection to armor design to tactical planning. Sarah approached the weapon control station where Chief Gunner Rodriguez was conducting diagnostic tests on the primary railgun systems. "How are our big guns performing?" she asked. "Better than specifications in every category," Rodriguez answered with clear satisfaction. The magnetic acceleration systems are reaching muzzle speeds 15% higher than design targets. Targeting computers can follow and attack multiple targets simultaneously, across planetary distances, and the best part is the firing signatures are completely hidden by the planet's natural electromagnetic field. This had been one of the trickiest engineering obstacles. How do you fire weapons powerful enough to destroy spaceships without generating energy signatures detectable by alien sensors? The solution involved using the planet's own magnetic field as both a power source and a concealment system. When the railguns fired, their energy signatures were channeled through the planetary magnetic field in ways making them appear to be natural occurrences. "What about the gravitational weapons?" Sarah asked. "Even better. We can generate localized gravity wells strong enough to crush a battlecruiser, and to outside sensors, it appears like a natural gravitational oddity. The aliens' own physics models work against them. They observe readings matching their theoretical predictions for unusual but perfectly natural gravitational effects. The gravitational weapons represented perhaps the most innovative aspect of the planet ship design. Rather than depending solely on traditional kinetic or energy weapons, humanity had learned to weaponize gravity itself. The same technology allowing the planet to move through space could also be focused into concentrated beams, making enemy ships too heavy to maneuver, or generate zones where physics worked differently enough to disable alien technology. Sarah checked the clock. Within hours, a routine supply convoy would arrive from the core systems, bringing replacement components for the surface mining operations and personnel rotations for the cover story workers. The convoy would observe exactly what they expected, a productive but unremarkable mining world contributing to the Concordat's economic prosperity. The convoy crews would never suspect they were delivering supplies to the most powerful warship in galactic memory. They would never imagine the friendly human. Workers helping unload their cargo were actually military personnel trained to operate weapons capable of shattering moons. They would never realize the barren landscape around them concealed technology making. Their own ships looked like primitive toys. "Prepare for the arrival sequence," Sarah commanded. "Ensure all deep-level operations are secured and all personnel are in their surface positions. This needs to look exactly like every other routine supply delivery." As her crew began the familiar routine of switching from warship operations to mining settlement simulation, Sarah reflected on their progress. The first generation of planners had envisioned building a fleet that could defend humanity's interests in a galaxy, viewing them as junior partners at best. Yet what they'd actually accomplished was far more ambitious than those early visionaries had ever imagined. They'd built something that could reshape galactic civilization itself. 17 planet-sized warships, each more powerful than entire alien fleets, hidden in plain sight throughout Concordat space. When the moment came to reveal them, the balance of power would shift so dramatically the old order would collapse overnight. Yet that moment hadn't arrived. For now, Sarah was satisfied to maintain the deception, continuing to play the role of a simple mining administrator while commanding the most sophisticated weapon of war ever built. The galaxy could continue resting peacefully for a while longer, never suspecting their awakening was already complete and awaiting orders. Commander Cephas Alpha Prime felt the crystalline structure of his consciousness vibrate with worry as he examined the sensor readings from his flagship. The mathematical patterns were incorrect. For 3 weeks, his fleet had been investigating gravitational oddities in Sector 15. And the data refused to fit any known model of natural occurrences. "Analysis confirms the readings," reported his subordinate Cephas Beta 7, his crystal body glowing with concentrated attention. "Energy signatures in this region are consistently 17.3% higher than baseline calculations predict. The gravitational variations follow no pattern found in our databases of natural stellar occurrences." The Superior Third Fleet represented the most advanced military force in Concordat space. Their crystalline ships moved through the void with mathematical precision, their crews thinking in perfect harmony with quantum computers that could calculate the movement of entire star systems. If something was wrong in this sector, they would discover it. "Increase long-range sensor resolution," Cephas Alpha Prime commanded. "Focus on the human mining world designated Terminus 7. The oddities appear strongest in that vicinity." The tactical display updated, showing a detailed scan of the system ahead. At its center, a typical human settlement world rotated slowly around an aging yellow star. Surface installations dotted the rocky landscape, extracting minerals that would be shipped to manufacturing centers in the core systems. Everything appeared normal, predictable, and completely harmless. Yet the mathematics didn't lie. Something in this system was generating energy readings that exceeded natural limits. "Sir, we're receiving a standard commercial greeting from Terminus 7, reported the communications officer. "Administrator Sarah Chen welcomes us to their system and offers any assistance we might need." Cephas Alpha Prime considered the options. Human settlements were always cooperative during alien inspections, sometimes annoyingly so. Their administrators seemed genuinely honored by official attention and eager to demonstrate their compliance with Concordat regulations. This cooperation had sometimes made them seem simple and dull to superior minds that preferred complex challenges. "Acknowledge their greeting and inform them we'll be conducting a detailed sensor sweep of their system," he decided. "Standard procedure for investigating gravitational oddities." The response came quickly, as it always did from human settlements. Administrator Chen expressed her complete understanding and cooperation. Her people would be happy to answer any questions and provide any assistance the Superior Fleet needed. She hoped their visit would be productive and educational for both species. Analysis of their response patterns indicates typical human administrative behavior, Beta 7 reported. Vocal stress patterns suggest genuine surprise and curiosity about our investigation. No indication of deception or concealment. This was what they always found when investigating human space. The humans seemed sincerely puzzled by alien interest in their activities, as if they couldn't imagine why anyone would find their simple mining and farming operations worthy of special attention. Their behavior patterns matched psychological profiles of species that had nothing to hide. Yet the sensor readings still didn't make sense. The Superior fleet moved deeper into the system, their advanced sensors probing every asteroid, moon, and space station for signs of unusual activity. The mining operations on Terminus 7 continued normally, with cargo ships arriving and departing on regular schedules. Industrial equipment moved across the surface with the slow persistence typical of large-scale extraction operations. Detailed scans confirmed the presence of standard human mining technology, Beta 7 reported, fusion-powered excavation systems, automated ore processing facilities, and electromagnetic transport networks. All within expected parameters for a Class C mining world. Yet something was still wrong. The energy signatures were too strong. The gravitational readings too precise. Natural occurrences should show more random variation. These patterns suggested artificial control, but the humans had no technology advanced enough to generate such effects. "Take us into close orbit," Cephas Alpha Prime ordered. "I want to examine this world personally." As the flagship moved toward Terminus 7, Administrator Chen's voice came through the communication system again. She sounded excited about the opportunity to show alien visitors around their facility. Most of her people had never seen Superior crystal ships before, and they would be honored to meet such distinguished representatives of Concordat civilization. The enthusiasm seemed genuine. Yet Cephas Alpha Prime's mathematical mind noticed subtle patterns in the human communications. Response times were exactly optimal for their apparent distance from the communication array. Background noise matched precisely what would be expected from industrial operations of the reported type. Even minor details like power fluctuations in their transmission system followed predictable patterns. It was all too perfect. Real operations should show more random variation. "Sir, we're detecting a massive energy surge from the planet's surface," Beta 7 reported, his crystal form flickering with alarm. "Power levels are increasing exponentially, across all frequency ranges." The tactical display exploded with new information. What had appeared to be a simple mining world was suddenly showing energy, readings comparable to a Superior battle station. Yet this was impossible. Human technology couldn't generate power outputs of this magnitude. "Battle stations," Cephas Alpha Prime commanded. Yet even as he gave the order, he knew something was fundamentally wrong with their understanding of the situation. The surface of Terminus 7 began to change. What had looked like rocky terrain started to shift and reconfigure. Mining equipment moved aside, revealing structures that definitely weren't designed for mineral extraction. Massive weapons emerged from hidden installations, their targeting systems already locked onto the Superior fleet. "This is Admiral Sarah Chen of the Human Defense Force," came a new voice over the communication system. The friendly mining administrator was gone, replaced by something much more dangerous. "You are trespassing in sovereign human space. Withdraw immediately or face the consequences." Cephas Alpha Prime felt his crystalline consciousness reel with shock. The Human Defense Force. No such organization existed in any Concordat database. Humans didn't have sovereign space. They were junior members of galactic civilization assigned to mining settlements under Concordat authority. "This is impossible," Beta 7 transmitted in harmonic confusion. "Humans do not possess military technology of this sophistication. Our databases indicate their capabilities are limited to basic industrial applications." The tactical display told a different story. Energy readings from Terminus 7 now exceeded anything in Superior experience. The planet itself seemed to be transforming from a mining world into something that belonged in nightmares. Weapon systems the size of cities were emerging from the surface. Shield generators were creating defensive fields strong enough to protect entire continents, and the gravitational readings were becoming truly terrifying. "Sir, the planet appears to be moving," Beta 7 reported, his voice harmonizing with disbelief. It's adjusting its orbital position. The gravitational field is being manipulated artificially. This violated every law of physics and engineering that superior science recognized as possible. Planets didn't move on their own. The energy requirements would be astronomical, far beyond anything even the most advanced Concordat technology could achieve. Yet the sensor readings were undeniable. Terminus 7 was no longer just a world. It was a weapon. Fleet dispersal pattern Theta 7, Cephas Alpha Prime ordered, falling back on military training even as his mathematical mind struggled to process the impossible situation. All ships target the primary weapon installations. We need to disable their offensive capabilities before they can engage. Yet as the Superior fleet moved to attack positions, something even more disturbing became apparent. The human weapon systems were tracking every ship simultaneously, adjusting their targeting solutions faster than Superior computers could calculate evasive maneuvers. This level of coordination should have required a hive-mind consciousness like the Kari possessed. Not individual humans working with primitive technology. Incoming transmission, the communications officer reported. The human admiral is requesting to speak with our fleet commander. Cephas Alpha Prime accepted the communication, his curiosity overriding his tactical concerns. Admiral Chen's image appeared on the main display, showing a middle-aged human woman in a military uniform he didn't recognize. Her expression was calm but determined, like someone who had prepared for this moment for a very long time. "Commander Cephas Alpha Prime," she began, somehow knowing his designation without being told. "I apologize for the deception, but it was necessary. Your investigation has discovered something we've spent 3 centuries preparing. I'm hoping we can resolve this situation without violence." "Explain," he commanded, his voice harmonizing with authority despite his confusion. "What you call Terminus 7 is actually one of 17 planet-class warships that humanity has constructed in secret," Admiral Chen said calmly. "We've been building them for 300 years, hiding them in plain sight while your species assumed we were just simple miners and farmers." The mathematical impossibility of this statement made Cephas Alpha Prime's consciousness flicker with processing errors. 17 planet-class warships hidden for 3 centuries. The logistical requirements alone should have made such an effort detectable by any competent intelligence network. "This is not possible," Beta 7 transmitted on a private frequency. "Our surveillance of human activities has been comprehensive. We would have detected construction efforts of this magnitude." Yet even as he thought this, Cephas Alpha Prime began to understand the scope of what they'd missed. The mining operations throughout human space, the simple agricultural settlements, the boring industrial facilities that alien inspectors had visited for decades. What if none of it had been what it appeared? "You've been watching us for 300 years, Admiral Chen continued. "And you've seen exactly what we wanted you to see. Simple humans doing simple jobs, never imagining we could be anything more than what we appeared. It's been the most successful deception in galactic memory." The tactical display updated again, showing energy readings from Terminus 7 that now exceeded the combined output of the entire Superior Third Fleet. Weapon systems were powering up that could destroy his flagship with a single shot. Shield generators were creating defensive fields that could probably withstand a coordinated attack from multiple battle groups. "What do you want?" Cephas Alpha Prime asked. His mathematical mind finally accepting the situation had moved far beyond his understanding. "Right now, I want you to return to Concordat space and report what you found here," Admiral Chen replied. "Tell them that humanity is no longer content with junior membership status. Tell them that the pacification accords need to be renegotiated. Tell them that we're ready to take our place as equals in galactic civilization." "And if the Concordat refuses?" Admiral Chen's expression hardened slightly. "Then tell them we have 17 of these ships, Commander. And we've had 3 centuries to plan for every possible response they might attempt." The communication ended, leaving Cephas Alpha Prime alone with the most disturbing revelation in Superior history. They had been completely outmaneuvered by a species they'd dismissed as primitive. The humans had used their own assumptions against them, hiding the greatest military buildup in galactic history behind a facade of simple competence. "All ships withdraw to minimum safe distance," he ordered. "Prepare emergency communications to Concordat Command." As the Superior fleet retreated, Cephas Alpha Prime composed the message that would change everything. The galaxy's 3 centuries of peaceful rest were about to end, and humanity was holding the alarm clock. High Counselor Vorak Prime materialized in the center of the emergency assembly chamber, his energy form crackling with barely contained fury. Around him, representatives from 7 species had gathered in response to the most disturbing intelligence report in Concordat history. The crystalline Superians, the hive-minded Kari, the plant-like Verdani, and others all focused their attention on the holographic display showing Commander Cephas Alpha Prime's impossible discovery. "This cannot be accurate," declared Hive Queen Kari Supreme, her collective voice speaking through dozens of drone bodies simultaneously. "Our intelligence networks monitor all human activities. They are miners and farmers, nothing more. They lack the technology and coordination for military efforts of this scope." "The sensor readings are mathematically irrefutable," Cephas Alpha Prime responded, his crystal form pulsing with each word. "What appeared to be the mining world Terminus 7 is actually a weapon platform with firepower exceeding our most advanced battle stations. The humans have somehow converted an entire planet into a warship." Vorak Prime's energy body shifted through several colors as he processed this information. The Vorak had been the primary architects of the pacification accords, using their mastery of energy manipulation to enforce galactic peace for 3 centuries. The idea that a junior species had been secretly building weapons violating those accords was almost incomprehensible. "Show us the full tactical analysis," he commanded. The holographic display updated to show detailed scans of Terminus 7, now clearly revealed as something far more than a simple world. Weapon systems the size of mountains emerged from camouflaged surface installations. Shield generators created defensive fields visible even from space. Most disturbing of all, the planet itself had moved from its original orbital position, demonstrating gravitational control technology that surpassed anything the Concordat possessed. "Energy output equivalent to 17 Superior battle stations," Cephas Alpha Prime reported. "Weapon systems capable of engaging multiple capital ships simultaneously across planetary distances. Defensive capabilities that would require coordinated fleet actions to penetrate. And according to their admiral, this is only one of 17 such installations." The silence that followed was broken by Counselor Verdani Root, whose massive platform rustled with agitation. 17, they claim to have built 17 planet ships. The resource requirements alone should have been detectable by our economic monitoring systems. "Unless," Kari Supreme said slowly, "their mining operations were actually resource gathering for military construction. Our hive mind analysis indicates this would explain several oddities we previously attributed to human inefficiency." Vorak Prime felt the first stirrings of real worry. For 3 centuries, the elder species had maintained galactic order through careful management of military capabilities. They had assumed any species ambitious enough to challenge that order would reveal themselves through obvious preparations. The idea that humans had been preparing in secret, using their apparent simplicity as camouflage, represented a failure of intelligence that threatened the entire Concordat system. "What response did the humans demand?" he asked. "Renegotiation of their membership status?" Cephas Alpha Prime replied. "They no longer accept junior partnership in the Concordat. Admiral Chen indicated they consider themselves equals now, deserving of full representation in galactic leadership." "Impossible," declared Counselor Nexus 7 of the Machine Intelligence Collective. "Human cognitive capabilities remain within previously established parameters. They lack the processing power required for strategic planning on this scale." Yet even as Nexus 7 spoke, Vorak Prime was beginning to understand that their assumptions about human capabilities had been fundamentally flawed. The elder species had always measured intelligence by their own standards. The Vorak valued energy manipulation. The Superians prized mathematical precision. The Kari focused on collective consciousness. They had never considered that humans might possess a different type of intelligence, one focused on adaptation and deception. "Mobilize the combined fleet," Vorak Prime ordered. "If the humans have truly built 17 planet ships, they represent an existential threat to galactic stability. We cannot allow them to dictate terms from a position of illegal military strength. The response was immediate and coordinated. Within hours, emergency communications were transmitted to every major military installation in Concordat space. The largest combined fleet in galactic history began assembling at strategic positions throughout the core systems. Over 10,000 ships from 7 different species, representing the accumulated military might of galactic civilization. The Superior contribution alone included 4 complete battle groups with their newest crystal ships, vessels capable of precise, long-range engagement using focused energy beams. The Kari Hive ships brought overwhelming numbers of coordinated fighters that could swarm any target. Vorak energy ships could phase through solid matter and strike from unexpected angles. Together they formed a force that had never been defeated in 3 centuries of peacekeeping operations. 3 days later, this overwhelming force arrived at the Sol system, expecting to find a primitive world defended by obsolete human technology. What they found instead challenged every assumption about warfare, civilization, and the nature of power itself. Multiple massive energy signatures detected throughout the system. Reported Fleet Intelligence Coordinator Carrie Delta Prime. The 3rd planet from the star is heavily fortified with defensive installations that were not present in our most recent surveys. Admiral Vorak Prime, commanding from his flagship at the center of the formation, studied the tactical displays with growing unease. Earth looked nothing like the simple world described in intelligence files. The planet bristled with weapon installations, orbital platforms, and defensive systems that radiated power signatures comparable to major military bases. "Sir, detecting movement from the 4th planet," came another report. "Mars appears to be mobile. The gravitational reading suggests it's actually an artificial construct, not a natural world." The implications hit Admiral Vorak Prime like a plasma bolt. Mars wasn't a planet. It was a space station the size of a planet, designed to look natural while actually serving as a massive weapons platform. How long had it been there? Hidden in plain sight while alien dignitaries visited Earth for diplomatic functions? "Incoming transmission from Earth," the communications officer announced. "Admiral Sarah Chen requests to speak with the fleet commander." The main display activated to show the same human admiral who had confronted Cephas Alpha Prime. She appeared calm and professional, but Admiral Vorak Prime now recognized the subtle confidence of someone holding a superior position. "Admiral Vorak Prime," she began, "I assume you're here in response to our revelation at Terminus 7. Before this situation escalates, I want you to understand what you're facing. You are in violation of the pacification accords," Admiral Vorak Prime replied, his energy form pulsing with authority. "Surrender your illegal weapons and submit to Concordat justice, and we will consider limiting the consequences." "Admiral," Chen actually smiled at that. "I'm afraid the pacification accords were written by species who assumed they would always be the most advanced civilizations in the galaxy. You never considered what would happen if someone else surpassed your capabilities. Impossible. Human technology remains primitive compared to Concordat standards." "Does it?" Admiral Chen asked. "Computer, activate Revelation Protocol." What happened next redefined Admiral Vorak Prime's understanding of the possible. Throughout the solar system, worlds that had appeared normal suddenly revealed their true nature. Mars shed its surface camouflage to show massive weapon arrays. The asteroid belt reorganized itself into defensive formations, revealing that many of the rocks were actually camouflaged installations. Even the outer planets showed signs of artificial modification, suggesting that humanity had been rebuilding their entire star system for military purposes. Yet the greatest shock came when 17 energy signatures appeared on long-range sensors, approaching from different directions through hyperspace. The planet ships Admiral Chen had mentioned were arriving, converging on Sol system with impossible coordination. 17 mobile worlds, Admiral Chen explained as the tactical display updated to show the approaching vessels. Each one more powerful than your entire combined fleet. We've spent 3 centuries preparing for this moment, Admiral. Every inspection visit, every diplomatic meeting, every trade negotiation gave us opportunities to study your tactics and technology. We know exactly how you think, how you fight, and how to defeat you. The first planet ship emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the system, and Admiral Vorak Prime felt his energy matrix fluctuate with shock. The vessel was enormous, easily the size of a large moon, but it moved with the precision of a fighter craft. Its weapons were already powered and targeted, tracking multiple ships in the Concordat fleet simultaneously. "This is World Ship Titan, Admiral Thompson commanding," came a new voice. "All Concordat vessels are ordered to power down weapons and prepare for inspection. Any hostile action will result in immediate retaliation." More planet ships continued arriving, taking positions throughout the system that demonstrated tactical sophistication far beyond what Admiral Vorak Prime had expected from human commanders. They weren't just powerful. They were coordinated, professional, and obviously operating from a comprehensive strategic plan. "How?" he finally asked. "How did you accomplish this without detection?" "You saw what you expected to see," Admiral Chen replied. "Simple humans doing simple jobs, never imagining we could be anything more. You were so confident in your superiority that you never looked deeper. Every mining operation was also a construction site. Every agricultural settlement was also a training facility. Every trade ship was also gathering intelligence on your military capabilities." Admiral Vorak Prime realized they were facing something unprecedented in galactic history. This wasn't just a military uprising by a discontented species. This was the result of centuries of careful planning by minds that had understood the galactic order better than the species who created it. "What are your terms?" he asked. "Complete restructuring of galactic governance," Admiral Chen replied. "Equal representation for all species, regardless of their technological development at the time of first contact. An end to the condescending attitude that treats some species as inherently superior to others. And most importantly, recognition that the age of elder species dominance is over." The combined fleet faced a choice that would determine the future of galactic civilization. They could fight against impossible odds, or they could accept that the galaxy had fundamentally changed while they weren't paying attention. As 17 planet ships took positions around the combined fleet, Admiral Vorak Prime understood that humanity's 3 centuries of patient preparation had achieved something remarkable. They hadn't just built weapons. They had built a new future, one where strength came not from assumed superiority, but from the willingness to adapt, plan, and never give up. The age of human equality had begun, whether the galaxy was ready for it or not. 1 year after the revelation that changed everything, Admiral Sarah Chen stood in the newly constructed Galactic Assembly Hall, watching representatives from dozens of species take their seats for the first truly equal governing session in galactic history. The massive chamber, built in neutral space between the old Concordat core worlds and human territory, represented a compromise between old power and new reality. The Superians occupied their crystalline seats with mathematical precision, their formations designed to optimize acoustic harmony and information exchange. The Kari delegation buzzed with collective conversation as their hive minds processed the implications of shared governance. Even the ethereal Vorak had materialized in stable energy forms, their usual superiority replaced by careful attention to new political realities. At the center of it all, humanity held seats equal to any other species. Not junior membership, not observer status, but full representation in galactic decision-making. It had taken the demonstration of 17 planet ships to achieve what 3 centuries of diplomatic requests could not accomplish. The Assembly recognizes Admiral Sarah Chen, representing the Human Federation, announced the new Galactic Coordinator, a Verdani named Root Speaker Prime, whose massive plant form had been chosen specifically for its neutrality among the competing species. Sarah rose to address the Assembly, knowing that every word would be analyzed by intelligence services throughout the galaxy. The transition from secret military buildup to open diplomatic participation had required careful management, but humanity had proven as skilled at peace as they were at preparation for war. "Honored colleagues," she began, "I want to thank you for your acceptance of the new galactic order. The Human Federation looks forward to contributing our perspectives and capabilities to the challenges we all face together." The response was polite but cautious. Most species were still adjusting to the idea that humans were no longer the simple miners and farmers they had appeared to be for so long. The psychological shock of discovering that a supposedly primitive species had secretly developed the most powerful military force in galactic history was still being processed by alien psychologists and strategic analysts. Counselor Vorak's secondary materialized more solidly as he prepared to speak. The Vorak Collective acknowledges human equality in this assembly. However, questions remain about the extensive nature of your military preparations. 17 planet ships represent capabilities far beyond defensive needs. Sarah had expected this concern. The sheer scope of humanity's secret construction program had frightened many species, even those who accepted the new political arrangements. The idea that humans had been planning and building for 3 centuries while maintaining perfect operational security suggested capabilities that made everyone nervous. Our construction program was designed to ensure that humanity would never again be in a position where our survival depended on the goodwill of others, she replied diplomatically. The 17 world ships represent insurance against threats that we hope will never materialize. This was true, but it wasn't the complete truth. The real scope of human preparation extended far beyond the 17 revealed ships. Hidden throughout the galaxy's outer regions, dozens of additional projects continued under the deepest levels of classification. Because while the galaxy now knew about humanity's military capabilities, they still didn't understand the full extent of human planning. Commander Tang Wei, stationed aboard the hidden world ship Prometheus in the Outer Veil region, monitored deep space sensors that tracked objects moving between galaxies. His assignment was known only to the highest levels of human command, watching for threats from beyond the galactic rim. Because humanity's 3 centuries of preparation had been based on a simple premise. The universe was probably not a safe place, and Earth's survival required planning for every possible threat. Long-range sensors detect multiple objects on approach vector from Andromeda Galaxy, Tang reported through encrypted communication channels. Estimated arrival time 47 years. Configuration suggests artificial construction. This was the information that had driven human military planning from the beginning. Deep space observations had detected signs of expanding civilizations in nearby galaxies, some of which showed concerning patterns of conquest and resource consumption. The pacification accords had created peace within the Milky Way, but they provided no protection against external threats that the elder species refused to acknowledge. Back in the assembly hall, Sarah continued her carefully prepared speech about cooperation and mutual benefit. Yet part of her attention was focused on the quantum encrypted message from Commander Tang. Humanity had always known this moment would come eventually. Their secret preparations had been designed not just to achieve equality within galactic civilization, but to prepare that civilization for challenges it didn't even know were coming. The Human Federation proposes the establishment of joint research programs to advance galactic defense capabilities, Sarah announced. We believe our combined knowledge and resources can address threats that no single species could handle alone. Cephas Alpha Prime, now serving as the Superior representative to the new assembly, responded with characteristic mathematical precision. Human military technology has proven more advanced than our intelligence indicated. Sharing such knowledge could benefit all Concordat members, and what he didn't know was that the military technology demonstrated so far represented only a fraction of human capabilities. The real advances were hidden in projects that made the 17 world ships look like simple engineering exercises. Deep in the Kuiper Belt, human scientists worked on technologies that could manipulate space-time itself, creating defensive systems that would make invasion of the galaxy impossible. Regardless of the attacker's strength, Dr. Elena Vasquez, now Director of Advanced Research for the Human Federation, stood in Laboratory Complex Omega, watching her team test gravitational manipulation technology that could create stable wormholes between distant star systems. The applications for rapid deployment of defensive forces were obvious, but the implications went far beyond military strategy. Successful test of controlled spatial folding, she reported to Sarah through secure channels. We can now create instant transportation networks between any points in the galaxy. Deployment timeline for full defensive grid, 18 months. This was humanity's real advantage. While the galaxy focused on the revealed world ships and debated the implications of human equality, human engineers were building a transportation network that would allow instant response to threats anywhere in galactic space. When the approaching civilization from Andromeda arrived, they would find not a collection of separate species protecting individual territories, but a unified defense coordinated through technology they couldn't detect or counter. The Carey delegation buzzed with collective curiosity as they processed Sarah's proposal for joint research. The hive minds find merit in combined knowledge sharing, Carey Prime announced. Human problem-solving approaches differ from collective thinking patterns. Integration could produce innovative solutions. Sarah nodded approvingly. The Carey hive mind capabilities would be crucial for coordinating the defensive systems humanity was secretly installing throughout the galaxy. Yet she couldn't reveal this yet. The other species needed time to adjust to human equality before they could handle the truth about external threats and humanity's preparations to address them. We propose starting with joint exploration missions to the galactic rim, Sarah suggested. There are regions of space that remain unmapped, and combined expeditions could advance our understanding of local stellar phenomena. This was cover for establishing monitoring stations that would provide early warning of the approaching Andromedan civilization. Human deep space sensors were already tracking the invasion fleet, but more monitoring points would allow better assessment of their capabilities and intentions. Counselor Verdani Root rustled his massive branches thoughtfully. The Verdani approve of expanded exploration. Our photosynthetic networks could establish monitoring stations in regions too remote for conventional settlements. Perfect. The Verdani botanical networks would provide ideal camouflage for the sensor arrays humanity needed to track the approaching threat, and their natural communication systems could serve as backup networks for coordinating galactic defense when the time came. As the assembly session continued, Sarah reflected on how far humanity had come. 1 year ago, they'd been considered junior members of galactic civilization, assigned to perform simple tasks while their supposed superiors managed important decisions. Now they were equal partners in governance, with their advice sought on matters of galactic security and technological development. Yet equality had never been the real goal. From the beginning, human planners had understood that survival in a dangerous universe required leadership, not just partnership. The 17 world ships had achieved equality. The hidden projects now nearing completion would establish humanity as the galaxy's protector, whether the other species realized they needed protection or not. Motion to approve joint exploration initiatives, Root Speaker Prime announced as the formal voting began. The motion passed unanimously, as Sarah had expected. Every species wanted to understand human capabilities better, and exploration missions provided opportunities for that understanding without appearing suspicious or confrontational. What they didn't understand was that humanity was already several steps ahead of them. While they debated governance structures and research partnerships, human engineers were completing projects that would redefine the possible, transportation networks that could move fleets instantly across galactic distances, sensor grids that could detect approaching threats from neighboring galaxies, weapon systems that made the planet ships look like primitive clubs, and most importantly, coordination systems that would allow all of these capabilities to function as a unified defensive network when the time came to use them. Sarah concluded her address to the assembly with words that carried deeper meaning than most listeners understood. The Human Federation looks forward to a future where all species can pursue their goals in safety and prosperity. We stand ready to contribute whatever resources and capabilities are necessary to ensure that future becomes reality. The applause was polite and diplomatic, yet Sarah knew that history would remember this moment differently, not as the beginning of human equality, but as the moment when humanity openly accepted responsibility for galactic security. The other species didn't know they needed guardians yet, but they would understand eventually. In the meantime, humanity would continue doing what they had always done best, preparing for challenges that others couldn't imagine, building solutions that others couldn't detect, and making sure that when the test came, they would be ready. The galaxy had awakened to find humanity as their equals. Soon enough, they would discover that humans had never been interested in mere equality. They had been preparing to be protectors, guardians of a galactic civilization too comfortable in its peace to defend itself against the darkness between the stars. And in 46 years, when the first ships from Andromeda crossed into Milky Way space, they would find that their conquest had been anticipated, prepared for, and would be stopped by a species that had spent 4 centuries turning the galaxy into an impenetrable fortress. The age of human guardianship had begun, even if only humanity knew it yet.